Recruitman back at you with episode 2 of GPU News and Rumor Roundup. So, this is a podcast-like format where I basically just go over the latest news in GPUs, CPUs, computer parts that I find interesting, tech stories that I find interesting, so that you don't have to. Mostly focuses on GPUs. You're more than welcome to follow along on the video. I will be linking and showing the articles that I am referencing, or you can just listen in the background while you're doing something else. So let's go over the headlines. 4070 Ti reviews came and went, and the 4070 Ti released. And AMD 7900 XTX Vapor Chamber news update. AMD finally responds. Next on the AMD front, AMD is releasing 6 new CPUs that they unveiled at CES coming out in February. We'll go over those. Will that help their current gen CPU sales versus their lower gen CPU sales? Guess we'll find out. Noctua has some delays to announce. And then we've got some delays on the Intel front. Is their Raptor Lake CPU canned? And did Battlemage get delayed? Guess we'll find out. Finally, we've got some news on the Asus 4090 Noctua, and Biostar is releasing 3080s and 3070s. You heard me right, 3080s and 3070s. So let's get to it. WTF Nvidia. That is the first result that comes up when you YouTube 4070 Ti review. Then we've got good value in parentheses from Hardware Unboxed. Jay's 2 cents. I am so sick of this crap. Linus, Nvidia is lying to you. $800 crossed out. So this is what you have to look forward to. 4070 Ti reviews in a nutshell. Not good. Long story short, to save you some time from watching all of these videos, here's the gist of the reviews. Blow for blow on 1080p and 1440, the 4070 Ti trades blows with a 3090 Ti. Is that a good thing? I mean, I guess. Actually, it doesn't do as well in 4K because it has less VRAM, which is not a good thing. So, benchmarks are okay. It doesn't blow you away. It uses a little bit less power, not much. And also, it doesn't have a reference model, so the MSRP is fake. So really, they're just kind of telling, hey, this is a card that's great. It's going to beat the 3090 Ti, and it's going to be cheaper. Well, let's show you how much you can get a brand new 3090 Ti for on Nvidia's website. $1099. Let's look at some of the prices of the 4070 Ti. $850, $900, $839, $900, $1050. Newegg, $950, $900, $930, $900. So sure, it is $100 less, $100 to $200 less than the 3090 Ti with less VRAM. Is it worth it? I don't know. I really honestly can't see a reason to buy the 4070 Ti, and obviously a lot of other people think so too if it's literally in stock everywhere. I think the problem is that there's no reason to upgrade from a 3090 or a 3080 basically to it. It's just not worth it. You might as well just buy the last gen for more VRAM, which is better in 4K. And if you are going to spend that much on a graphics card anyway, you should just go $1,000 mark and buy the 7900 XTX. Now I know that has some of its own problems with the vapor chambers, but I really think that's a good card. I mean, the 4090 had its own problems too. Everything seems like it has problems lately, but that doesn't mean it's every card. So anyway, I don't see what the reason to buy this card is. It's priced too high. This whole generation minus the 4090 is priced high. I think we all know that the only reason the 4090 was priced at a reasonable value is because Nvidia had no choice. With the fact that when the 4090 was going to drop, we were right in the middle of the crypto crash, recession was high, GPU prices were tanking, they're on the shelves everywhere. So why on earth are you going to drop a ton of money? So, the 3090 Ti got priced at $2,000, too expensive. So they went with the MSRP of the 3090, and it sold like hotcakes because it was great value. Who would have thought that people like to buy great value? Then Nvidia saw the price, saw it was selling, and decided, again, this is all speculation on my part, that they would just raise the price on the 4080, and then that 4080 12 gig thing, and it was too high. Frankly, these cards are all $100 to $200 overpriced. I did a video that you could literally buy an entire computer for the price of a 6900 XTX, 7900 XTX versus the price of an MSRP 4080. That's ridiculous. So anyway, 4070 Ti, don't get it. Nvidia better learn their lesson with this one. And if they didn't, we're going to have the same problem with the 3070 or the 4070, the 4060 Ti, the 4060, and maybe even the 4050. 4050 sounds like a weird number. 4040? Anyway, that's basically the gist of it. Don't buy it. Skip it. Leave it on the shelves. The only way Nvidia is going to listen is if you see it on the shelves. If you're able to buy it, look, the 4090 Founders or the 4080 Founders is still in stock at Best Buy. Nvidia will only listen to lack of sales. Vote with your wallet. Just say no to the 4070 Ti. So last weekend, reports started coming out that the reason some AMD 7900 XTXs were getting hot or registering a junction temperature of 110F, which is technically within spec, but that's the edge of spec and pretty hot. YouTuber Iner, I can't pronounce it, I apologize, link down below and you can see it on the video, posted a video up that made waves. Basically, he did a bunch of tests and he thinks that the reason people were having problems was due to the vapor chamber being bad in the 7900 XTX. Now, it was later, he did a follow-up video where he thinks that it actually was just that AMD didn't add enough water. And some other people seem to confirm that, but honestly, I don't think everybody fully knows. But it made quite a bit of waves this week, and it freaked out a lot of people. One side note I'd like to add to this is that I have a 7900 XTX, and I did not see it on mine. I did a bunch of tests. I dropped a video on it, which I'll have a link down below as well, where you can see how I tested it, and I did a lot of the same tests, not to the same degree, but, I got results that were fine to me, where I had between 80 and 90 C. So it's not happening to everybody. But it is a problem. It's a big problem for AMD, especially after they made a big stink about the cable gate. I'm calling it cable gate, where the 4090 had some melting cables. So, you got to answer AMD. And I guess AMD took that to heart, and they did. So here's an article from Tom's Hardware. AMD admits faulty vapor chamber causes 7900 XTX throttling. And here's a snippet from the article. This is the response from AMD. Quote, "We are working to determine the root cause of the unexpected throttling experienced by some while using the AMD Radeon RX 7900 XTX graphics cards made by AMD. Based on our observations to date, we believe the issue relates to the thermal solution used in the AMD reference design and appears to be present in a limited number of cards sold. We are committed to solving this issue for impacted cards. Customers experiencing this unexpected throttling should contact AMD support." End quote. An AMD representative told Tom's Hardware. This is from Tom's Hardware. For obvious reasons, AMD didn't divulge how many MBA made by AMD units are affected. Quote, "A limited number," end quote, is as vague as it can get and could mean anything from a bad batch to a couple of batches. The number of tally will probably be up into the thousands. On the bright side, the flawed thermal solution doesn't affect every Radeon reference RX 7900 XTX graphics card, only those unlucky ones from the specific batches. Since custom designs don't use AMD's reference cooling, they are free of the problem. In addition, AMD has confirmed that the flaw only affects the RX 7900 XTX, so the Radeon RX 7900 XT is unaffected. End quote from Tom's Hardware. So that's pretty interesting. I'm glad AMD finally fessed up to it. I think a lot of YouTubers, a lot of YouTubers, and a lot of other people kind of thought that it was, a limited issue, or not necessarily a limited issue, but like not every single card was affected, as a lot of the YouTube review units weren't affected. Now my unit was not a YouTube review unit. I purchased it in the second day after release. I missed the queue and I got it on a notification from my Discord the next day, and I bought it. So I would say mine was one of the first waves, and I had no problems with it. So I'm glad they admitted to it. I'm glad they're gonna fix it, and then this should be easy enough to solve it, and it goes away. But this should be a lesson for AMD and Nvidia, where don't kick the other guy while he's down. The best thing AMD could do, or Nvidia could do, is keep their mouth shut on this, because it could bite you in the butt one day. So yeah, if you've done the test and your card's affected, set up an RMA, and I'm sure they'll get it taken care of. So next, we have some CES news. AMD had some pretty cool announcements. So this is the AMD announcement from their page. It's linked down below. Basically, they are going to release the successor to, in my opinion, the best high-end budget, the best everything gaming CPU, the 5800X3D. So they're going to be releasing three models: the 7800X3D, the 7900X3D, and the 7950X3D. Now, there's a lot to dig into with these, but to keep it simple, it seems that the the 79 and the 7950X3D will work a little bit differently. I don't have all the details on that. If you're interested, I would just go ahead and Google it. I don't want to sit here and talk about something that I really don't fully understand, but it is interesting. And I followed that up with some more news where WCCF Tech says that allegedly the early 7800X3D benchmarks show 30% faster gaming performance over the 5800X3D. Now that's huge. And supposedly the 7900 and the 7950X 3D will be more. I don't fully know, but it's super interesting to say the least. Those are the CPUs I've been waiting for. I was not really impressed by 13th gen or the latest AMD offerings. I still have a 5950X. I'm perfectly fine with it, and it's going to take 30+% performance uplift in gaming for me to want to switch. We'll see what it can do at 4K. That's personally where I'm interested in. That's where I do a lot of my gaming, is 4K and 1440. So I'm waiting, but this is the first one in a few years that I'm actually excited for. On another note, AMD also is going to release non-X versions of the 7600, the 7700, and the 7900. So these non-X versions are pretty cool. You'll be able to PBO boost them, which is the AMD equivalent of like overclocking them. It's kind of like auto overclock, and you should be able to get speeds pretty close to the non-X versions. At least that's what it seems like. It's pretty cool. What I hope with these is they are going to be cheaper. I didn't really see a price. There could be one, but I didn't see one. I thought it was just a rumor. But they are going to be cheaper, and hopefully that will force this whole generation of AMD CPUs cheaper, because everything is overpriced, especially when you consider what you're paying for an X670 motherboard or an X550. They're crazy. The prices are through the roof. You shouldn't be paying $300 for a motherboard with that might have Wi-Fi and might have postcode features. Simple things that you can get on an X570 that you can get used for $100 or even new for $200 max. These motherboard prices are out of control and need to be really brought down, and hopefully the CPU prices will come down as well. So these are pretty cool. I'm myself very excited for the X3D models. So we'll see which one is the best, and this leads us to our next news story from AMD. The AMD Ryzen 5000 CPUs are selling nearly 10 times more than the 7000 chips in Germany. I mean, we all know why. The value for the 5000 is so much better than the 7000. Their motherboards are so much cheaper, especially if you don't care if you have a B550 motherboard, which you really don't need an X570, especially if you're rocking a 5000 series. And DDR4 RAM is also exponentially cheaper than DDR5, and the performance difference is not really that much to justify it. at least here in the US, you could buy new 5600X, a 16 gigs of DDR4, decent timings, and a B550 motherboard for under $400, under $300, frankly. I think you could do it under $300. Where if you're talking the 7000 series, not everybody lives by a Micro Center to get free RAM, so you're looking at, I don't know, $700 to get that whole set. Sure, it's a little faster, but it's not worth $400. You can get you can get the rest of the computer with $400. That's crazy. So hopefully these new chips will start dropping the prices of their motherboards and just the whole chip range. So the next bit of news is a little bit of a bummer. Noctua delays new 140mm fans by nearly a year due to strict quality standards. And this is from PCGamer.com. So if you're like me, I'm a big air-cooled guy. I prefer the ease of it. I like to tinker, and air cooling doesn't spill. I was really looking forward to these, as I was a little worried that the DH15 might not be able to keep up with the newest gen Ryzen CPUs or Intel CPUs. So they were supposed to originally drop in February. The article states, quote, Noctua had expected to release its next-gen 140mm fans by the end of 2022. However, that's come and gone. Today, the PC cooling company, famed for its brown color palette, has said we'll have to wait quite a bit longer for these next-gen units. Almost a year, in fact. Now, here's the Noctua statement in the article. This is the official from the company. Quote, despite our aim to release our next-gen 140mm fans by the end of 2022, regrettably, in the past weeks, it became clear that a further significant delay was necessary. We understand that many of you feel frustrated by this news, but the decision was not made lightly. The extra delays are as frustrating for us as they are for you. Unfortunately, we ran into an unexpected production level issue that we need to investigate, address, then rerun the accelerated lifetime test, which can take several months to complete before we can ramp up production. All of this is done to make sure we can guarantee that the new fan, despite its ultra-tight tolerances, will have the same durability and longevity customers come to expect from Noctua fans. End quote. So that's definitely a bummer. And once more, PC Gamer adds in their article, quote, what this means is that the products relying on the next-gen fan for their own upgraded versions, namely the new NHD15 air cooler, will be delayed as a result. And they have the new roadmap updated on Noctua's site, which I'm just going to pull up for you right here. It has Q3 and Q4 of 2023. So I'm not too excited for it. Hey, at least they're not giving us garbage, right? So this next bit of news is from Extreme Tech. I would take this one with a grain of salt, as I haven't really seen anyone else confirm it. I just thought I'd share it because it caught my attention. The article states that Intel may cancel Meteor Lake desktop CPUs in favor of a Raptor Lake refresh. So the article basically just goes over how they're not getting the yields they want, and it's taking too long, that they've already canceled it once, and that they've updated the roadmap. Nothing too crazy. It basically, like I said, it's just a long-winded version of saying that their roadmap changed and there's no Meteor Lake, and that they might just be doing a Raptor Lake update instead. A bummer if you're an Intel fan and you were hoping for, another gen, but one silver lining. Quote, the leaked roadmap of 2023 doesn't mention Meteor Lake. Instead, Intel will be offering a Raptor Lake refresh on a refined 10mm process. That 10mm net process. That should allow it to squeeze a few hundred megahertz out of the chips and improve its efficiency a bit. The good news for Intel fans is that it will use the same LGA 1700 socket it's currently offering. There were rumors that Meteor Lake would only come out after Raptor Lake on a new LGA 1851 socket. That would give the 1700 two generations of CPUs. Now it appears you'll get three: Alder Lake, Raptor Lake, and the Raptor Lake refresh. So, for anybody who owns a Z690, that's pretty cool, but that's about it. On another Intel note, it looks like there's another delay, and this is also from Extreme Tech, and I would also take this with a grain of salt, though I did hear this from some other sources, as some news was leaking out of CES. Looks like Intel's next-gen Battlemage GPU will arrive in 2024. Now it just shows you the roadmap and how it's going to get pushed back, and how we're currently on the Alchemist GPU. But frankly, Intel's got to stop releasing stuff late. They had a golden opportunity to explode onto the market during the chip shortage, and they dropped the ball. They came out late. They came out when you could get any card you wanted, and they didn't matter. So Intel has really got to get their stuff together, and they can't keep pushing these GPU launches back, or we're never going to get a third party in the space. And we need Intel to do better, because if Intel does better, we all get better products. Whether you like AMD or Nvidia, you should be rooting for Intel. So, kind of stinks that we had 2 Intel delays at once, but, hopefully Intel gets their stuff together. Alright, so I like to end the show on some lighter news, some stuff I think is funny, silly, kind of a waste. And the first one of those stories is the Asus X Noctua 4080. This report comes from videocards.com, and they basically say that Asus confirms the new RTX 4080 model will feature the same fans as its predecessor, the NF-A12 by 25 fans. And the article goes over it, and it confirmed that this card is a 4.3 slot card, and it features an improved vapor chamber. I don't understand. I'm not really going to go into detail on this article. I just wanted to get this out, that this is silly. If anybody's read a 4090 or 4080 review or used one, you know that the current cooler is crushing it. It's way over-engineered. It was over-engineered for a 4090. It is way over-engineered for a 4080. So you're going to take a way over-engineered cooler that's already too strong, and you're going to slap Noctua fans on it and make it even bigger and more cool. You're going to be able to run this thing on 10% fans and probably going to be in the negative Celsius. You're like -0 Celsius. That's not possible, but you get what I'm saying. Joking aside, this is silly. It's a cash grab, and it's going to be a waste of money. I doubt it'll sell, but who knows? Maybe people want to build the next Noctua PC. Anyway, that's the silly news story 1 of the day, and the second one is just as comical. Talk about late to the party. When I was in college, I was always late, but this is a whole nother level of being late. Biostar launches RTX 3080 and 3070 GPUs. So, a little bit late. Again, I'm really not going to go over the article too much. It just kind of shows you what they're releasing. They're also going to release a 2060 Super as well. I mean, this is cool, I guess. And it continues to launch Radeon 6000 and 7000 GPUs as well. I don't know. Actually, in all seriousness, if people want new 3080s and they're going to be harder to get, especially if the 40 series keeps bombing the way it is, there might be some merit for companies like Biostar to be releasing 3080s and 3070s to extent again, especially if they're at MSRP or a little bit lower. It's a little long today, but the whole point is just to listen in the background, to keep yourself busy. This was a pretty busy news week with CES and the 4070 Ti review. I'm not sure these will all go this long. Anyway, if you enjoy this content, please like and subscribe. If you have another way you think I can do this better, or if you have any criticisms, please leave them in the comments down below. I love to hear them. Again, I'm still fresh with this, and I'll be adding, updating, editing as I go along. So again, please like and subscribe. Thank you very much for listening. I hope you guys have a wonderful weekend. Krootman